Jay here from Toy News International, and it's time for another T&I toy review. Hey everybody, JC here, and today we're going to take a look at the new DC Collectibles 6-inch Batman the Animated Series Joker figure. Now this figure comes packaged in the same kind of stylized packaging we've seen with the other Batman the Animated Series figures. You've got that Batman the Animated Series image of Batman in the background on the card back, and then you've got the figure clearly displayed with the accessories, and you've got the name, the Batman the Animated Series logo down below. Off to the side, it tells us that the figure is sculpted by Irene Matar. And also off to the side, along with the name of the figure, it tells us that this is number 5 in the series. And then on the back, again, we just have a look at that Batman the Animated Series Batman logo. Nothing too spectacular on the back of this packaging. Alright, so let's get this open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figure outside of the packaging, along with all the accessories that come with this figure. Now, the accessories are based on the Batman the Animated Series episode called The Last Laugh, which coincidentally that episode took place on April Fool's Day, which happens to be today. Today is April Fool's Day. But the episode, if you recall, is basically the Joker gets this barge filled with garbage that emits this laughing gas throughout the city, and he's got his robotic pilot, Captain Clown, and Batman ends up having to stop him and everything. So all the accessories that come with this figure are based, or things that we saw the Joker using in that episode. Now, I will say that some of these accessories, even though they did technically appear in the episode, kind of seem like a waste, especially because even though the articulation's not bad on this figure, he's only got single jointed elbows, and we'll look at this closer when we look at the actual articulation, but he can't really like hold stuff up to his head. So like he comes with this comb, which you see him briefly use in the episode when he's sprucing himself up before he's basically going to go on shore, and so, but you can't get the comb up to his hair because of the articulation. Same thing with this little telescope that they gave him, which has got some nice detail. It's gray and it's got the blue lens on it and everything, and he uses this when he's watching Batman sink to the bottom of the ocean after Captain Clown has put him into a garbage can and they've thrown him overboard. But again, he can't hold this up to his face, so it's almost kind of pointless. He's also, other accessories that he comes with, he's got this pearl necklace, which you see for like a split second in the episode, where the Joker and his gang are going down the street in the financial district, and the Joker breaks a window with a brick of a jewelry store, and you see him pulling out this pearl necklace. And he says, who says crime doesn't pay? Sorry, that's my bad Joker impersonation. He comes with this little knife that he pulls out at one point. This is after they've put Batman into that garbage can, and they start punching holes into the can, you know, jokingly saying they're air holes, but then of course when they throw the can into the water, it starts to fill up, you know, the air holes become water holes. And so this is the knife that he used to punch those holes. Would have been kind of cool if they'd maybe given us like a garbage can or something, but they didn't. And then the final, or not the final, but the other main accessory that they give is his oxygen mask, and it's basically like a bowl mask that you see him wearing throughout the episode whenever he goes outside to protect himself from his own gas. And so this is just a clear plastic piece, plastic bowl piece that fits on his head. And they've got these yellow plastic pieces on the sides, and these are like the breathing apparatuses like you saw in the cartoon. And basically, to fit it on his head, you can see it's kind of a long ways hole, so you essentially turn the mask sideways to get it over his head, and then you just turn it so that it fits on his head. And it fits fairly decently. It's a little bit loose. You kind of have to kind of get it to press up against his chin if you want it to stay on there tightly. But that's probably the coolest accessory that the figure comes with. He also comes with several pairs of hands. So he comes with 2 closed-fisted hands, which are what are attached to the figure when you take it out of the packaging. And then he comes with open pair of hands, and this is for like holding the telescope or the larger items that he comes with. You can put the pearl necklace in these hands. And then he comes with a third pair of hands, which are open but not quite as much. So these are for like the smaller accessories, like the comb. You can slide the comb in there and it'll hold the comb or the knife. So these are like for the smaller accessories. I think I would have liked to seen like maybe an accessory, a cool accessory that would have been nice is like with one of the hands, if they come with a throwing card. In the episode, you know, the Joker pulls out some of those deck of cards that he kind of uses as throwing stars and starts throwing them at Batman. So it would have been cool if they had like done that with one of the cards where it was like attached to the hand. Kind of like you see with like, you know, the Batman figure that came with the grapple hook that was in his hand. It would have been cool if they had done something like that with the Joker and one of those playing cards. And then finally it comes with the figure stand like we've seen with all the figures. It's got the little white base with the turnaround images of the character, and then it's got the plastic, clear plastic pieces, and you can kind of pull the arm out or push it back. And yeah, these work fairly well. I mean, you know, they keep the figure standing, so they do that. You know, they're not good for like getting the figure in cool poses or anything like you would see with a higher end Figma or SH Figure Art figure stands, but you know, it does the job, keeps the figure standing. And also real quick, the figure comes with this sheet that shows other figures in the series. We've seen with the other, you know, this has been released with all the figures so far. So we're up to, you know, we've already had the first 4 previously released, and then today we got the Joker. We also got Robin and Man-Bat were released today as well. And we'll be looking at those figures in the next couple of days. So basically we're up to figure 7 as far as released, and then I guess Poison Ivy will be coming out soon. And then also they've given us an instruction sheet, so to show you how the figure stand works. And then also on the back, and I guess this will come with all the figures in this assortment, because it basically gives you directions for each of the figures: Joker, Robin, Man-Bat, and Poison Ivy. So like how to change the hands on Joker and Robin and Poison Ivy, and then with the Man-Bat, which is actually is a bigger figure. Costs the same as the others, but it comes in bigger packaging and it is a bigger figure, a little bit bigger figure with the wings and everything. So that's pretty cool. So I assume this is going to come with all the figures, since it's kind of like a universal instruction sheet. So I think DC Collectibles has done a great job with the sculpt and the paint apps on this figure. I think they've done a really nice job with the face sculpt, capturing that evil grin of the Joker, and you can see his teeth are sculpted in there. So again, I think they've done a really knockout job with the sculpting on this figure. And then, I mean, the paint apps are nice and solid. You know, there's not like any kind of wash work or anything like that. But you've got the purple on the costume. The coat is that kind of rubber material like we often see, and it kind of is apart from the figure down here below. And then back here, the tails of the coat. So that's looks nice. And then he's got the yellow shirt and a blue tie, and he's got the little flower. Unfortunately, the flower doesn't squirt anything. He's got the white gloves. I like the pearl white that they've used for the face. That stands out nice. And then again, I like the sculpting of the teeth and just the grin and everything, and the eyes. They really got the eyes, I think, good. He's got the little green stripe in his hair, and then the rest of the hair is just black. He's got white, not as white as his face, but you know, white gloves with maybe a little blue tint to them. Same with the shoes, and then the black tips on the shoes. So I think they've done a really good job with the overall look of this figure. Now there is a little bit of paint chipping, especially with like the hands. I've got had a lot of paint flaking with the hands, so that's something just to watch out for. And you can see like even on the inside there, you can see like where some of the paint on the hands has come off onto the purple. I mean, it's no big deal because when the hands are on, you don't really notice it. But definitely a lot of paint flaking, but not much in the way of paint blemishes. A little bit of maybe paint chipping up here on his hair. You can can see a little bit of the black chipped off on the tips of his hair. But other than that, you know, pretty good job with the paint apps on this. Okay, so now we come down to the articulation, and the big question that's probably on all of your minds is has DC Collectibles fixed their joints so that this figure isn't going to break when you start moving it around? And from what I can tell, for the most part, I would say yes. This figure, the construction of it and the joints seem very tight, very sturdy. I've not had any issues with them, nor do they even feel like there's even risk of them breaking. So it seems like DC Collectibles has done a good job in improving the construction of these figures. You know, when you get yours, you know, we'd love to hear, and you know, if you've had any problems. But for my figure itself, I have not had any issues with the joints, and they seem very tight and very sturdy. Like, you know, I can do the splits, and no fear, no, you know, looseness, no. It does not feel like these joints are going to break, and you can see they have not. These aren't those clear plastic joints anymore, so the joints are actually the same color as the rest of the figure, so I like that. But you know, just no issues so far, knock on wood, with this figure as far as the joints. So articulation is pretty good with this figure, like we've seen with the other Batman the Animated Series figures. The head's on a ball joint, so he can look left and right, and he's got some up and down movement. You can kind of pivot off to the side and everything, so good movement with the head. Then the arms, you can get all the way out. Even, you know, the jacket, you know, the main jacket is kind of a separate piece from the sleeve, so it doesn't prohibit the movement of the arm at all. And he's got good rotation. He's got swivel at the elbow, no bicep swivel, but he does have swivel at the elbow, and then it's a single hinged elbow, so he can bend his elbow pretty good. And then they've got the swivel with the wrists, and then the hinges with all the hands. So you got good movement there. And again, you know, no problem with moving of the joints. Now, if you want to remove the hands, you just pull them out. It's got the little pegs on the hands, and then you can stick the new hand, and no issues really in removing the hands either. So that's pretty simple and straightforward. He's got the waist swivel, no ab crunch or anything, but he does have the waist swivel. Then he's got those weird kind of hinge joints for the legs, but you can see he can do the splits really well. He can get his leg forward good. Even can get his leg back pretty good. Even with the tails on the coat, really doesn't limit him from moving his legs back. So good movement there. No thigh swivel, single hinged knee, and no swivel at the knee or anything. And then he does have ankles. You can swivel the ankles, but there's no kind of hinge or pivot on this one. So he's just got the swivel at the ankles. But the ankles are pretty solid, even though they're kind of thin down there. They are pretty solid. I would have maybe liked to have seen a hinge joint, but still, nice solid joints. And just one other thing I wanted to point out, it seems like they've done a good job with this figure of hiding the pegs for the joints. The figures in the first wave, and I know a lot of people kind of complained about these, is, you know, you could see these pegs like you see here on Batman throughout the body because of the joints, and so they seem to have kind of corrected that with the Joker figure. Okay, so the figure stands just over 6 inches tall, and he's pretty much the same height as that Batman figure released in the first wave. So scale for the figure seems to be pretty good, since in the cartoon they were about the same height. So that's my review. Overall, I really like this figure. I think the joints are really solid. Articulation is pretty good. I would have maybe liked a little bit more movement with the arms, just for the accessories, you know, or maybe given us some different, more useful accessories. You know, I like the oxygen mask. The multiple hands are good. Even like the pearl necklace is fine. You know, it's kind of a nice little throw in. The telescope, you know, you use for 2 seconds, and unfortunately, again, you can't get it up to his eye, so it's kind of pointless. The knife was okay, and I mean you can use it for a weapon, so that one's not bad. Though, like I said, maybe if they included the garbage can or something, that would have been cool. The comb kind of seems pointless to me. Again, he only used it for like 2 seconds, and you can't really get it up to his hair, so that one seems kind of pointless. As I mentioned before, a hand with maybe, you know, a throwing card in it would have been cool. But other than that, I really don't have any major complaints with this figure. I think they did a really good job with the sculpting. I really like the head sculpt, and most importantly, I've had no issues with the joints. They again just seem really solid and tight for the most part. You know, maybe over time they could get a little bit loose, but I definitely don't think that breakage like in the first wave is going to be an issue with this figure. Now, I certainly would like to hear from you all, you know, if you picked this figure up, and if you have any problems, we certainly want to hear it, or if your figure is well constructed too, then we'd like to hear that as well. So, you know, feel free to let us know how your figure turned out. But with mine, I definitely have had no issues with the joints or anything. So that's my review. As always, you know, please leave a comment. Let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. There will be a gallery of images for this figure over at toynewseye.com. There's a link in the description below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. And until next time, I'll catch you later.
Oh, Batman, will you ever get a sense of humor?